We are back with you with our last segment of basically Ask the Meteorologist.
That's
Any and
what it
every
is.
kind of question. Speaking of, what's the difference between a hurricane and a cyclone?
Whichever ocean it forms in. That's the difference. So in the Atlantic and in the Eastern Pacific, which is the one that borders California and Mexico, we call them hurricanes. That's just what we call them. In the Indian Ocean, they call them cyclones.
Okay.
And in the Western Pacific, the Pacific over by Asia, they call them typhoons. They're all the same thing.
All the same kind of storm. So this is a follow-up. How come California never gets hit with a hurricane?
Also a great question, and the main answer is it's just too cold. You ever go swimming in the Pacific Ocean?
It's cold.
It's not
It
good
is
for
really
swimming.
cold, yes.
Hurricanes want to have water that's like 82 or warmer, and it almost just never happens out that way. So typically the hurricanes in the Pacific are usually down by Mexico. You can also get them occasionally out by Hawaii. It's rare to see one up in California.
Okay, well this kind of follows that. Why is Milton losing strength over the warm Gulf waters?
It's a great question. I know we had another question that came in about what was an eye wall replacement cycle. That means you were probably watching the Weather Channel. You're really into the weather here. You see this, just look at this imagery here. See how yesterday we had this really small dot and then the dot kind of goes away. That's the eye of the storm.
Yes.
This is where we were earlier this morning. And then you'll notice by about midday today, there's around lunchtime, and now here's the afternoon. This is where we are now. See how that came right back? So hurricanes can go through a total, basically like a renovation. They can get almost too strong, whereas they can't support themselves anymore. So it's almost like they're spinning out of control. So the most intense storms can actually kind of, erode themselves away and kind of have to break themselves down and then build themselves back up. That's what we call an eye wall replacement cycle. So the water didn't get any cooler. The conditions are still just as favorable. It's just that this storm got too strong that it had to kind of go through a reorganization. And now that it has, it's strengthening back again. And usually when that happens, the storm goes from being pretty small and really, really intense to a little bigger, and just the peak intensity is a little bit less. So as this gets closer to Florida, the storm's probably going to grow in size, but the category number and the wind speed number will probably go down. It's expected to be a Cat 3 at landfall, by the way, not a 5.
All right, and so people are asking, will St. Augustine or Jacksonville be impacted? We were just looking at the track a little bit.
Most everybody in Florida is going to have at least some impact. If you're on the East Coast, with St. Augustine and Jacksonville are, they're going to get some wind, they'll get some rain, probably more like strong tropical storm to low-end hurricane conditions. The West Coast is going to be where it's the worst. So we can go through the loop here. This is tomorrow night. Notice the eye of the storm coming very, very close to Tampa Bay. And then if you're looking for St. Augustine and Jacksonville, you're on the north side of the screen right there. It's going to be some, tough weather early Thursday up that way. But the areas that are most in danger would be from Tampa to Orlando, down to Sarasota, Fort Myers, Melbourne, those areas. The West Coast especially, from Tampa to Bradenton to Sarasota to Fort Myers, those are the spots. If my family were there, I'd tell them to go away.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a non-hurricane related question.
Okay.
What is responsible for the northern lights being visible in the south? We saw that this last season.
You know what? A couple people saw them the last few nights.
Really?
Yeah, in the mountains, and even in, I got a couple good photographers that send me pictures down in the Charlotte area. They saw a few, a little faint glow. The reason that you can sometimes get them down here, it all has to do with the sun. So when you're seeing auroras, as they're called, or the northern lights, it's energy from the sun that's interacting with the Earth's magnetic field. All things that we can't see with our eyes. So you just have to trust us here. But sometimes the sun can spit out some energy, and we'll call that a solar storm, or a CME, which is a coronal mass ejection. You can Google it. I have to every time just to remember what it is. But all you need to know is it sends a whole lot of energy, and then it interacts with the magnetic field, and it reacts in a beautiful way. So if you get a really strong one of those, then you can sometimes get it down here in the south. But boy, oh boy, it's not very common. Right now, we are in the middle of active solar flares, or let's say an active solar season. So there's more instances of it happening right now than usual, and we're probably going to go away from that in the next year or two.
And maybe just take your phone and take some pictures out there, because the phone captures it better than our eyes do, right?
If you can't see it with your eye, I don't think it counts, but the phone can get really good pictures.
I think it counts, because then I have the picture and I'm like, see, there were the northern lights.
It was nice to see.
All right, we appreciate all of your questions. We're going to be putting this on our YouTube channel so that you'll be able to hear all of these fun explanations all over again.